Hi everybody, Martin from Everyday Bonsai. A very rainy day today in Auckland, New Zealand, and I was thinking it's a good opportunity to do a follow-up video on these Scots pines. They are now about 7 years old and I've got about 25 of them, and they're kind of just from very young seedling developed into future bonsai. I've made a video on this before. I called it Scots Pine Bonsai Early Development. If you want to check that out, that's on my channel as well. And I tried to find the same 3 trees, and I think I have found them. And they're kind of all at various degrees of kind of not so well developed to really well developed. I prune these trees about twice a year, usually once in early to mid spring. So now it's the perfect time to do it. We've got the middle of November here, which is right smack bang in the middle of spring. And then once at late summer, which is about kind of mid to late February. So this is after the candles have just come out and developed very well. And this is when they kind of get their first prune of the season. So now the candles have very well developed. As you can see, they are all almost kind of becoming branches. So you can do it a bit earlier, as I said, like 2-3 weeks earlier. But yeah, let me just show you, let me just bring you in a bit closer. This is the one tree that wasn't developed that well last time. It's still not the best developed tree, but it has made a lot of progress. This branch here on the side, which is the major branch that it's got, it's quite thick. It's almost as thick as the trunk. So in order to slow down growth of this branch, I might just cut it off closer to the trunk, because it's got all this growth here at the end. So it's kind of like I call it like a pom-pom growth, where there's, I mean, at least 20 new buds coming out that would develop into branches in the future. So in order not to allow that to happen, it's just got to be shortened. And then there's 3 or 4 buds that have already developed, and maybe another 3 or 4 that are just coming out. So they will then just take over, but much closer to the trunk, and they will slow down the growth so that the main trunk is going to develop better in proportion to the rest of the tree. You can see there's a whole lot of branchlets that are developing here, as well as new buds that are developing for the future. There's one right underneath those 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's just too close. So I'm going to take that off first. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4. I only wanted to keep 2 of those. What that does is that it prevents from these kind of, I kind of call them golf balls, that develop quite often on pine trees, where you've got this kind of massive cluster of little candles developing into branches, and then if you leave them all on, then that area swells and it becomes this weird kind of ball, and it's not very attractive. So what I wanted to do is to get the 2 major branches, the 2 strongest ones off, and just leave the weaker ones, so that the weaker ones can now develop better. And then at the same time, I take these buds out that I don't want to develop either. Okay, so that's pretty much it for that area. Right at the end here, as I mentioned before, is this main branch, and all of this cluster growth here kind of sucks all the energy out of that branch and doesn't allow these ones to develop any further. So what I'm going to do here is I bite the bullet and just cut it off here, and that will again
balance the energy better. So I think I'm fairly happy with the development of that. It's quite balanced. Obviously it doesn't look like a tree at the moment, but that's all right. At this stage it's just developing it. Alright, this is tree number 2, and I also featured that in that last video. This has actually developed super well. I'm very happy with it. Very happy with the balanced growth, so that we've got a similar amount of growth at the bottom as well as on the top of the tree. There is just masses of buds that have developed into branchlets and can now be reduced in order to avoid future undesirable features in the tree. So again, mostly it's about too many branches coming from the same point, which is a good problem to have. It's always a good problem. It's always a positive to have more than you need, so that you can actually make a decision and choose the ones that you don't want to keep. And yeah, first of all, I'm gonna again remove the few weeds that are on here, kind of check the overall development, and as I said, that's pretty good. This was the sacrificial branch that I had in order to develop the tree and make it fatter, and I reduced that quite a bit, but you can see it's quite balanced. The growth here is not bigger or more vigorous than it is down here or here, which is a really good sign. So yeah, I'm gonna take you a bit closer in and show you what I'm gonna do with the rest of the tree. There's a really typical one here, really well developed. But it clearly shows there's just too many candles that have developed from that one spot. But now really is the time when you cut that off easy, and it means that the branches that you leave can develop well into the future. And the ones that, like this one here, which is right in the middle of those two, and there's another one here and a smaller one down there. So first of all, that big one in the middle can come out, and in total it means that it's done its development, it's helped the tree getting stronger and more vigorous and pull energy up. I think I'm just gonna cut this one off as well, this bigger one here, because I've got those other smaller ones that I want to keep. So that one goes off, and then I've just got another one there off, and then I'm just left with those two here. And what happened, the development on the intersection there, oops, making a bit of a mess of this, but it should be all right. So this is the kind of point where this golf ball always develops, and I'm going to prevent that by cutting that off relatively flush and leaving only two. So now these two will take over and will leave the rest kind of unharmed. Yeah, and as far as the rest is concerned, it's just mainly about density. This one is in a good position, but there's one which is just above it, which will fulfill the same function, and it's on the outside of the curve, so that's what we want. And now all the resources that the tree has can be put in those remaining branches, which are in a better position. So it means that we will get a better tree in the end. There's another 3 here. two very strong ones and then one flimsy one. I cut the flimsy one out and maybe reduce the other two a bit, so they are roughly the same size. And I'm happy with that. I think that balanced it quite nicely. And now towards the end of summer, they can all develop better. And I think this one has a bright future ahead. So it can also come off. Yeah. I think that's it for now. The third tree, so this is the one that had developed the best the last time, was very balanced, overall really good distribution of branches, good kind of thickness of branches in relation to the trunk, and yeah, mainly just really well distributed growth. So that has really continued, I have to say. All of these branches down here have developed well and equally good. None of the branches had been neglected, and I think it's just the top is getting quite heavy. Yeah, so this area up here where I've made the decision that this is all going to be sacrificial, so that I'm gonna not use this in the future, but it's gonna be helping to develop the tree further by pulling the energy up. But there is now two areas here that I've had left last time. One of them is going to the left and one of them is going to the right, and then developing any further, and this is getting super dense here, and both of them are developed and pulling energy, so I think one of them will be absolutely sufficient. So that's just that whole part here. Very healthy growth, but I think it doesn't need it, and also on this side it doesn't need this. This can also come off, and then so this part will be sacrificial, and this from here will develop into the new apex. This can just pull the energy further up, so I'm just gonna clean this up a bit to maybe just leave one shoot for that. Clean up the others so that they don't develop any further. And we just leave one shoot and a few little buds there to do the job of sacrificial branch. If you like the content, I hope it helped out and gives you a bit more confidence to trim your own trees, your own pine trees. Please subscribe to the channel, please give us a like, and yeah, hope to see you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching.